Good morning, all. The next topic that we'll see in transaction concept is timestamp based protocol. Timestamp based protocol is one of the technique used for the concurrency control. So here it determines the order in which transactions are to be executed. That is, if any work to be done, so for that work all like so many are going to arrive, so for that ordering will be done, so whoever arrives first, that one will get the time slot to run. So whoever arrives second, he'll get second. So that is the ordering is done for each instructions here. Suppose if Ti and Tj are to be executed, these are the two transactions for a schedule are to be executed, then the system will decide who will come in advance. So for whoever will come first, he will be given the time slot. So this is done by associating a timestamp with each transaction. That is, a time will be given for each transaction to execute. Then after finishing that, the second whoever has arrived, whichever instruction has arrived, so that is going to get the timestamp. Based on the timestamp, they are going to come to the system like well in advance. The timestamp is associated to each transaction, and based on that time they'll come and execute their instructions. So here timestamp will be denoted by TS of Ti. TS of Ti. So here TS is designated for timestamp, and Ti is the instruction number, which instruction is being going to execute. So this is the timestamp denoted for each transaction. So whenever a transaction issues a request for data, that is, whenever a transaction, that is, suppose T1 is requesting for T1 will be requesting to perform read of A, write of A, like this instruction. So this is a data item. So whenever a data transaction will issues a request for data item, a timestamp will be allocated for this transaction. So if transaction 1 is associated with these instruction, so this instruction at the starting will be associated some timestamp. Here RFA will be given some timestamp to this particular data item A. So the current time on the system clock, there are two factors how the time is given. One is based on the system clock, that is, suppose the system is on, and when at what particular time the instruction has arrived on the system. So suppose at time 9 o'clock something, at 9 o'clock one instruction has arrived, and one more instruction has arrived at 10 o'clock. So based on the system time, the timestamp is associated with the transaction. Based on the system time, the time will be associated to the instruction. That is one factor how the timestamp is given to the instruction. And another one is based on the logical a logical current might be associated. That is, suppose you're asked to count from 1 to 100. You'll be counting 1, 2, 3, 4. So at what count transaction T1 has occurred? Suppose at 20 count transaction T1 has occurred. So 20 will be the time of transaction T1 entering the system. And after some more time, like you have continued your counting till 100, 1 to 100, then in middle of 70 something, second instruction has arrived. So 70 will be the second time slot for the transaction T2. In this way, the timestamp can be associated with the transaction. One is based on the system clock, and another one is the logical count. So if Ti enters before Tj, if Ti, that is T1 enters before T2, then timestamp of T1 will be less than timestamp of T2. So this is the formula for timestamp, how you are going to determine. So whoever enters before, he will get the first time slot, so his time slot will be less than the other second timestamp. So there are two types of timestamp. One is write timestamp and another one is read timestamp. So write timestamp of Q, that is Q is our data item. For any data item Q, Write stamp of Q denotes the largest timestamp for any transaction that executed write of Q successfully. So for this write and read timestamp, I'll explain you with this example. So see here, write timestamp. Here it is the largest timestamp for any transaction that executes read of A successfully. So for this, I'll take an example. There is one schedule here. So here there are 4 transactions for a one schedule, S1. So here what is happening, there are 4 transactions T1, T2, T3, T4. So T1 is associated with 10 value, T2 with 20, T3 with 30, T4 with 40. So here which instruction will execute first? R1 of A, as that has arrived first on the system, so that will be executed. So initially how you are going to determine the read timestamp? Read timestamp of A we don't know initially, so initially I'll assign it as 0. Then update our T1, that is start executing our transaction T1, as that is having the very first instruction. So T1 R of A means reading is done. So only wherever read instructions are there, because here we are determining the read timestamp. Here we are associated with the read timestamp. So where are reads, we are going to flow according to that. So first read we are going to see in transaction T1. So R1 of A here, A is having value as 10. So update our T1 value with 10 now. We are having R1 of A as 10. So initially what we had 0 value. So 0 we are going to compare with 10. Yeah, 0 is less than 10. So this is a valid. So see, this formula will be applying. Timestamp of T1 is less than timestamp of T2. Or Ti, Tj you can consider. So this formula will be applying. So 0 is less than 10. Yes, it is a valid instruction. So we'll move to the next instruction where we are reading read. Next we are reading not here, we are reading in T3. We are reading in T3, R3 of A. R3 of A means update T3. Here R3 means it is associated with the value of 30. So 30 is the new value, that is our Tj. Before Ti what we had, 10. Is 10 less than our 30? This is also valid. So this also we are going to update transaction T3, means we'll execute that instruction also. Next read where we are reading, that is here in T2. T2 is having the value of A as 20. So T2 is having 20, but Ti was 30 and now new Tj is having 20. So 30 is less than 20. This is wrong. This we can't update. This is not valid instruction. This is not satisfying our this formula. So we'll stop here. That means last read instruction executed is in T3, not T2. So last read executed will be in T3. So here we are telling read timestamp is nothing but largest timestamp of any transaction that execute read successfully. So it is the largest timestamp. So 30 is our read timestamp of A. So this is the largest timestamp of any transaction that execute read of A successfully. So at T3 we have executed it successfully. So that is our largest timestamp associated. Similarly in write timestamp, initially write timestamp will be assigned value as 0. So where is the first read here? First read we are reading at T1, W1 of A. So that is again having the value as 10. So update transaction T1 which is having 10 value. So again, as initial write timestamp is 0, 0 you are going to compare with 10. That is timestamp of T1. You are going to compare with the timestamp of Tj. That is Tj. So this formula you will be applying. So is it, yeah, this is satisfying. So we'll consider this update. Second second write where you are doing, it's not in T2, not in T3. Here it is write. You're going to check only for write here because this is write timestamp. So in this you'll be having W4 of A. So update transaction 4 which is having value as 40. So in before ti was 10, so 10 you're going to compare with new value tj, that is 40. So it is valid. So after this you don't have any write transaction, so you're going to stop by yourself. Then write timestamp of a is given as 40. So this is again the largest timestamp of any transaction that has been executed. So whichever largest timestamp that your instruction has been executed, that is your write timestamp. These, I think these two are clear. So the basic idea of stamping is to decide the order between the transaction. There are n number of transactions, so every time you're going to decide the order in which way these all transactions are going to execute. So in time stamping, we are going to order all the transactions in our schedule. In case of conflict during execution, we can resolve the conflict using ordering. See, as so many instructions will arrive, that is concurrency issues and all. So to resolve all such concurrency and conflicting, will assign the ordering to them. That means we are going to assign each instructions with a time. So if time is given, then there will not be any conflicts or concurrency issues. The reason we call the timestamp not stamp, because for stamping we value of system clock. See, this I'll tell you. Here the reason why we call timestamp, we'll call the timestamp not stamp, because here whenever an instruction arrives, here we are assigning a unique number which is not going to repeat. See, unique time will be assigning. Suppose at 9 o'clock an instruction has occurred. After that, at new time instruction will arrive. Again 9 o'clock it will not arrive any instruction, because that time is gone. So the next instruction whichever arrives will be after that time. So it is called as a unique number, and that is not going to repeat also by itself. So only it is called as a time stamp, not only stamp. The two ideas of time stamping are timestamp with transaction. See, timestamp with transaction, I'll explain you. There are two ideas of time stamping. One is with transaction and another one is with data item. So timestamp with the data item I have already explained here. For each data item Q, protocol maintains two timestamps. One is write timestamp and another one is read timestamp. So here these two protocols are maintained for data item, that is write timestamp and read timestamp. So this type of these type of timestamps are called as timestamp with data item. Based on data item, you're going to perform timestamps. The next is with in the transaction, timestamp with transaction. See how this will work means, if your system whichever transaction has arrived, so you're going to perform ordering on them. So whichever transaction has arrived, so well in advance the system is going to give a time for that. So that is the time allotted to that transaction to execute, to come and run at that particular time. So see, I'll read out here. With each transaction ti, we associate a timestamp denoted by ts of ti. So each transactions ti will be associated with a timestamp. So it is given as ts of ti. So it is the value of the system clock when a transaction enters into the system. At 9 o'clock the transaction has entered, so that will be the 9 o'clock is our system clock. So based on that time slot is given, or else one more is by logical clock also, based on counting whatever count the transaction has entered, that will be your count for the transaction. Here also based on transaction you are having two types, one is system clock and another one is logical count. So if a new transaction tj enters after ti, then this is the formula. If there are two transactions that has occurred, so whichever will come first, so that will have less time than the second one. So this is also unique, and based on this ordering only the instructions are executed. It also determines the serializability order. So serializability order it is telling, because we are going to run in sequence, one after the other instructions only get executed. Here the system also ensures that the resultant conflict serializability schedule Ti will execute first before Tj. That means if R you are reading, so whichever R's conflicts are there, after read only you are going to execute. So this will also assure the serializability, and the resulting will also be a conflict serializable. So these are the two ideas of timestamping. One is timestamp with transaction. With transaction here means you'll be having a system clock or a logical count. Based on that, you're going to assign the instructions a timestamp based on the transaction. Whichever transaction has arrived first will be given the time slot, and the other transaction timestamp will be based on data item. That is, here again in turn you are having two protocols, that is write timestamp and read timestamp. For this we have already seen an example. Thank you.